Good morning, second graders. Today we are on page 5 of your student journal, page 5. And our objective today is I will equally partition rectangles into rows and columns. Okay, so today I will equally partition means to cut a rectangle into rows and columns. Okay, so let's look at our vocabulary. And our first word is a rectangle. So a rectangle is a four-sided plane shape. Sometimes we call it a quadrilateral, but it's a four-sided flat shape. Partition means to divide objects into equal shares. That's the key with partition. Now we're doing it by hand, so it's not going to be perfectly equal, but we're going to do our best. Our next word is rows. Go left to right or horizontal. So rows go that direction. And columns go up and down, or what we call vertical. So up and down. So here's a visual for us. So here, this rectangle has been partitioned. And they partitioned it into, let's count the rows, 1, 2 rows. Now to partition those 2 rows, they didn't do 2 lines, they actually only had to do 1 line. And then how many columns do they have? Columns are up, down. So they have 1 column, 2 columns, 3 columns. But here's the trick, boys and girls. To make the 3 columns, they only had to draw 1, 2 lines. So don't get confused between how many lines you have to draw and how many rows or columns you're trying to make. Okay, it says each part is the same size. They are equal shares or parts. So how many parts is this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 equal shares or parts. Okay, I'm going to get started on my first problem. And it looks like this. It says, partition this rectangle into 4 rows. Okay, so what do I know? I know rows go this direction. I also know I don't need to make 4 lines. 4 lines is not what I need to do. I need to have 4 rows. So I'm going to do a line here, a line here, and a line here. So how many rows do I have? I have 1 row, 2 rows, 3 rows, 4 rows. But I only drew 3 lines, friends, so be careful with that. But I now have 1, 2, 3, 4 rows. Okay, let's look at my next one. Partition this rectangle into 5 columns. 5 columns. Well, I know columns go up and down. So I need 5. Now this isn't as easy when it's an odd number. So I'm just going to have to do my best. How big I think they should be. So I think that's about as equal as I can make it. How many do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 columns. But look how many lines I had to draw. 1, 2, 3, 4. You might be seeing a pattern, friends. So I have 5 columns. Okay, let's look at my next question. My next question says, partition this rectangle. And yes, it looks like a square, boys and girls, but squares are rectangles. So partition this square into 4 rows. Okay, so that's what I did earlier. They want me to do it again. So 4 rows. And rows go this direction. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. They're not exactly the same size. I just did the best I could. And they want 5 columns, and columns go up, down. So 1, 2, 3, 4 lines, but how many columns do I have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, my next question says, how many equal parts are there? So let's count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. There are 20 equal parts. Okay, boys and girls, let's try some of these together. Okay, here is our first two. Our first one says, partition this rectangle into 4 columns. So let's underline 4 columns. And what do we know about the word columns, boys and girls? We know columns are up, down. Okay, so we want 4 columns. We're not going to draw 4 lines though. Let's do a line in the middle, because when it's an even number, it's easier. And then we can do a line here and a line here. So how many do we have? How many columns? 1, 2, 3, 4. And we only had to draw 3 lines. Okay, let's look at our next one. It says partition this rectangle into 3 rows. 3 rows. Well, rows go horizontal, that direction. Okay, so friends, we're going to do it a little bit up top and then right in the middle there. So how many did we get? 1, 2, 3 rows. So we had to draw 2 lines to get 3 rows. Okay, let's look at our next one together, our last one. It says, partition this rectangle into 3 rows. Okay, so that's what we just did, and rows are horizontal. So ready? 1, 2 lines gives us 1, 2, 3 rows. And they also want 4 columns.